पाण्डुपुत्राणामाचार्यमहतीं च मूं व्यूटां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येन धीमता। अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुनसमायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः दृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित्कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्त उत्तमोजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः। Now, literally speaking, Duryodhana impatiently trying to ensure that Dronacharya, the chief warrior of his army, is in alignment with his intentions and not biased, seeing the Pandavas as they are the direct disciples of Dronacharya. If you see, Duryodhana didn't worry about Bhishma's intentions because he knew Bhishma has enslaved himself to Kaurava kingdom more than a dharmic victory. As the battle is about to begin, Duryodhana rushingly explaining to Dronacharya that Dronacharya's own disciples are standing in the opposing army and they are hesitating to kill the Kauravas including Dronacharya, and so neither should we hesitate. Duryodhana was also reminding Dronacharya that Drishtadyumna, who is the brother of Draupadi and son of Drupada, was also in allies with Pandavas standing in the opposing army. Drupada and Dronacharya went to the same Gurukul under Maharishi Bharadwaja. So they studied together in their childhood, and later Drupada became a prince of a kingdom and Dronacharya went with his family life, marrying a sister of Kripacharya, who is the chief acharya of the Kuruvamsha kingdom. Drupada in the later stage became the heir to the throne and he became the king of the Drupada kingdom. But when Dronacharya went to him for help as a family man where he was suffering in poverty, Drupada refused to identify him as a friend and insulted him and sent him back. Dronacharya was very much disappointed by this action of Drupada. Dronacharya later became the master for Kauravas and Pandavas as children under the guidance of Bhishma, as Bhishma and Dronacharya both were trained by Parasurama at one point. So again Bhishma was also to be a friend of Dronacharya, so he sent Pandavas and Kauravas to study under Dronacharya. So Dronacharya taught both Kauravas and Pandavas various skills including his own son Ashwatthama. So they learned the skills of archery and various other warfare skills from Dronacharya. So later when Pandavas and Kauravas were mature enough, they asked for the Guru Dakshina for the wisdom and the skills received from Dronacharya. Dronacharya asked to defeat Drupada kingdom and imprison Drupada. So later when Kauravas went and tried to defeat Drupada, they failed. But Pandavas, with the help of Arjuna leading the army, he defeated Drupada and imprisoned him. But Dronacharya was very kind enough and told Drupada that as you promised in the childhood, I will take half of the kingdom and you take the remaining half, and thus I am releasing you also from this imprisonment. Drupada, filled with rage as Dronacharya took half of his kingdom because of a childhood promise he made to Dronacharya. Drupada, in order to defeat Dronacharya and acquire his kingdom back, he made a spiritual rite to receive a spiritual warrior as his son and defeat Dronacharya in a war. As a result of the spiritual yajna done by Drupada, he was blessed with two children. One is Drishtadyumna, who will be killing Dronacharya, and Draupadi. Drishtadyumna was born to kill Dronacharya. The factor is Drishtadyumna was sent as a disciple to Dronacharya himself by Drupada. Even though Dronacharya with his wisdom can understand that this person, Drishtadyumna, was born to kill Dronacharya himself, he still accepted him as disciple and taught him all the warfare techniques and archery skills and other things. So Duryodhana was afraid that Dronacharya, being a highly self-righteous person himself, should not change his mind seeing Pandavas as his mighty disciples. So he was reminding that Drishtadyumna is standing in the opposite army just to kill Dronacharya himself, so that Dronacharya wouldn't change his mind or jump ships at the last moment, as he is the chief warrior of Duryodhana's army. Statistically speaking, in Mahabharata, the Pandava army is comparatively lesser in volume to the Kaurava army. Kaurava army had 11 Akshauhinis, that is a term to define the amount of warriors and the type of warriors in an army, and Pandava army had only 7 Akshauhinis. So 1 Akshauhini refers to an army of 21,870 chariots and 21,870 elephants and 65,600 horses, and finally 109,250 foot soldiers. As Pandava army has only 7 such bundle of armies, the way they aligned each Akshauhini made Pandava's army seem larger than Kaurava army. Duryodhana, conveying this seemingly appalling array of Pandava's Akshauhinis to Dronacharya, thinking that he might be aware of their army strategy of Pandavas, as Dronacharya was a master or guru of Pandavas and even Drishtadyumna. Coming to the spiritual meaning of this, Duryodhana, being the ego mind, takes the ally of Dronacharya, that is samskaras or habits of a human personality. So now we had seen in the previous video how samskaras are formed and how they define our current life personality and preferences. So with the help of positive samskara, one could easily conquer the ego mind and indulge in the spirit mind. But with negative samskara, the habits are naturally based in tamoguna, thus indulges in material pleasures and so on. So for a seeker with negative samskara, the fight between ego mind and spirit mind is longer and rarely gets a glimpse of the Atman. But every individual on this earth in this current era has a mix of positive and negative samskaras, except for a very few who are prodigal saints and born enlightened. So what's the way for us to the truth then? Vedanta says a seeker constantly should practice the way to attain God through discipline, associating with satsangs, doing pilgrimage, and practicing mantras and meditations, etc. So these are explained in detail in each Upanishads, which are branches of Veda. But in the current life and living in this accelerated time-space reality, how does a seeker practice all these tough methods? This is what Sri Krishna Paramatma explains in Geeta, that a seeker indulging in family life and everyday activities still can practice Jnana Yoga by controlling the mind and be conscious of our own thoughts and action. Bhagavan Osho, in his book The Krishna and the Man in His Philosophy, explains that in simpler terms. Seeker is a karma yogi, number 1, when he practices action through inaction. Number 2, when he practices the inaction through action. So action through inaction is renouncing all material pleasures and finding stillness within. So for this yogi and seeker, all actions are driven by the God within. Inaction through action, it is indulging in our mundane activities but keeping our mind conscious and aware of the present moment. So all the actions are divined by the seeker with his ego mind, but the effort and result are submitted to the divine within. But what is the use of both aspects of a karma yogi? Why should we try to practice any of these? If you see in both practices, the seeker is very much unburdened and his life becomes very much effortless. So this gradually finding the God within. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, when we take a step towards God, God takes 100 steps towards the devotee immediately, thus reducing the difficulty of devotee's journey. Every human body is covered in 5 koshas as per Vedanta, and koshas meaning the sheets of consciousness as per Vedanta. So the first and topmost kosha is Anandamaya kosha, that is a blissful state of consciousness. Then comes a Jnanamaya kosha, that is intellectual and spirit mind. And next comes the Manomaya Kosha, which is an emotional mind. Then comes the Pranamaya Kosha, which is the connection of astral body to the human body through breath, which is life force. Next comes the Annamaya Kosha, which is an ego mind based in physical body. Krishna Paramatma in the coming chapters will explain how a spiritual seeker could use his or her prana and breath work as a way to regain the connection of this lower mind matter to the spirit. With the continuous practice of breath work, the seeker loses his attachment to the lower mind and identify as a whole spirit mind. Five Pandavas represent the qualities and power acquired by the devotee with the practice of meditation. So, metaphorically speaking, Sahadeva is the power to stay away from evil, that is the Mooladhara chakra. Nakula, the power to be righteous, that is the stomach chakra, Anahata. Arjuna, the self control mind, that is the central chakra, Manipuraka, which is also the life force within. Bhima is a divine controlled life force, Prana, that is the heart chakra. And Yudhishthira is a divine stillness, that is the throat chakra. Just to practice Bhagavad Gita in our everyday life, can we all try making one effortless action every day, like one of our everyday chores, and submit the effort and result to Sri Krishna Paramatma? Imagining that we are doing this as a service to God, and thus I'm submitting the thoughts and the result of this action to His feet. Let's try one such action every day. Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.